Good morning, everybody. Orange J here with another weekend update video, and this weekend I'm going to be talking War of the Visions, life, fantasy books, the community around just content creation in general, teaching a bunch of stuff from some notes I took from last week's weekend update video, and just some things that have been poking around in my mind. Now, I want to start with last week's video, and in particular the comments section. I got a lot of thoughts about this, and my first thought is thank you, because the comments were overwhelmingly positive. There was so much good feedback. A lot of people said that, hey, they just like the content I make, whether it's War of the Visions, Echoes of Mana, whatever it is, they're just here for it. And y'all are the MVPs. Like, without that kind of following, content creation would not be possible. I think content creators talk a lot about blocking out the haters. And this is something I talk to kids about when they talk about wanting to be, TikTokers or whatever. They want to be a content creator, social media influencer of some kind, which is like the most wanted job among kids. And I tell these kids that you got to grow some thick skin, because there's a lot of people that will just hate you for some reason or another, or there's a lot of people who just like to disagree with what you say because it makes them feel smart. I don't honestly know. Some people are just really abrasive, and you have to be able to block those people out, but that's only half of it. And in fact, it's a lot less than half of it. For every big time hater, at least on my channel, there's literally 50, 60, 100 people who are either just watching the video or saying good things. And I think it's important to be able to recognize, hey, if somebody is just being super negative, just block them, just get rid of them, just say get off of my channel, hide them from the comments, whatever you got to do to keep your own mental game in check. But also realize, if the majority of your comments are negative, you might have messed up. If the majority of your comments, like 90% of them, are positive and there's just a few haters, ignore the haters, you did a good job, move on. At least that's the way I look at it on my channel, and it's been really healthy to me. So thanks to you guys for being supportive. It really makes me feel good. That's the easiest way to say it, and I'll just stick with that. All right, next, I wanted to talk about fantasy books a little bit today, because through talking to people like Michael, who's a longtime subscriber to this channel, and a lot of the rest of you, I figured out there's a lot of Brandon Sanderson / fantasy fans out in the War of the Visions audience, which makes all the sense, right? I feel like if you play RPGs, there's a pretty good chance you like sci-fi fantasy book series. So I wanted to give you just my my top stuff I got going right now. First, I'm currently rereading Malazan, Book of the Fallen. I'm on book 6, The Bone Hunters. The main line, I believe the main series of that is 10 books long. It is, if you've never read it, and it's a book series that doesn't get the same level of coverage and hype that Sanderson does, do it. Steven Erikson is amazing. Those books just crush it. Malazan Book of the Fallen is not an easy book to get into. The first book just throws you into this world with crazy magic, and it doesn't explain anything. You just have to kind of pick it up as you go. But if you're a big time fantasy fan, it doesn't hold your hand and just allows you to be a huge nerd, which is really awesome. So that's what I'm reading right now. If you're looking to break into some series of books that I can't recommend Brandon Sanderson enough. The Stormlight Archive is a great place to start with him, in my opinion. That's where I started with him, and that's got me into all the rest of his stuff. And then if you want a little sci-fi, Red Rising, I think, is fantastic. Check out Red Rising. I just bought that book for my dad, who mentioned he wanted to start reading again, and I was like, man, he kind of likes space stuff. I'm going to get him Red Rising. Guys, look, that book's amazing, and the first 3 books in that series feel like a completed series to me. Read those 3, and then just, if you're going to read Red Rising, I think you read the first 3 books, and you say, story done. Now we're starting kind of a new story that takes place right after, if you read the next ones. So those are my things. Right now I'm reading Malazan, one of my favorite series ever. Sanderson is the GOAT of modern fantasy writers, and then Red Rising would be my starting point if you want to get into the kind of sci-fi stuff I'm interested in. So there's where I am with my reading. Now, let's talk a little War of the Visions. I had a lot of people mention manual PvP in some comments last week and on Discord. And let me tell you what I think about manual PvP. when we covered it for the official tournament, we covered about half as many matches as we did in the auto PvP. And I think that was really important. Like, the thing with manual is you must be able to just fill a bunch of time, and it's really hard on the shoutcaster and the color person, which in the last case was Justin. We spend a lot of time just sitting there being like, oh yeah, and he's like moving, he's trying to reset that timer, will he do this, will he do that? It's harder to speak about those things, right? Like, manual PvP in War of the Visions is not a fast-paced thing. Think of shoutcasting something like League of Legends. Sure, there's like dead time in League of Legends, which during that time, you could talk about team comps, what the teams are trying to accomplish. But when a team fight breaks out, it is like, boom, action, 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 action. And so you have these valleys and you have these peaks. When I shoutcasted manual PvP, I'll tell you what I felt like. I felt like every time somebody did an action, I had to like peak the excitement, and then it was often followed by this like long valley of the next person being like, okay, now I'm going to, I'm going to like step over here, how's the range of this skill? And it just felt really awkward pacing wise. Where with auto PvP as a shoutcaster, it's a lot easier for me to anticipate what the AI is going to do because I've seen it so many times. And I can kind of know, okay, we're in range, it's a battle, I can get hyped up, the AI is, quick. I wish manual PvP, my idea to like fix manual PvP, which would also make it harder, would be half the time that players get to make decisions. You make a decision right now or your turn is skipped. I would love to see that. I think there's just too much of a delay. It makes playing it tedious. I know the people who do it right now love it, but you got to admit, if you're a manual PvP player, you are in the vast minority. Like, you are dwarfed by the auto players, and the main complaint is it's boring. It is boring to wait for somebody to take their turn. It's boring to play one match that takes like 11 minutes for most of us. So that's my idea on how to fix manual. Those are just kind of my thoughts on it going forward. It was more fun than I thought it would be. I will say that shoutcasting it was better than I thought. I thought we found the sweet spot in matches, but also keep in mind, we shoutcasted the minimum amount. Like, there was not, that was the shortest time it could have been. I'll just say that. Okay, now I want to talk about, people were asking me about, I said about future collaborations in War of the Visions. Obviously, and I've talked about this before, my main Final Fantasy game that I want to see collabed is 8. That was my entry into Final Fantasy. Squall, Renoa, Quizis, Quizis for real. Like, I want her in there. But that was my first game, and I think most of us, or a lot of us, our first Final Fantasy game just holds a special place in our heart. I got a ton of people sending me DMs on Discord about like, oh man, when's FF8 coming out? Because they know it's my favorite, so we just talk about it for a minute. There's a lot of us that would throw a lot of money at that. So I think they're saving that one. There's definitely a stigma with Final Fantasy VIII because the story was a little weird and the draw system was either OP or sucked depending on if you like knew how to exploit it or not. So there's plenty of problems with that game, but it was in that like perfect time, my favorite time Final Fantasy ever had, which was the PlayStation 1 era, right? I think 6, even though 6 was before PlayStation, was the like perfect cap to the old games, because 6 is considered like one of the best Final Fantasy games ever. Then you go 7, 8, 9, and then 10 begins like the next gen systems. That little 5-game streak, in my opinion, is the greatest streak in Final Fantasy. And they've done 6 and 7, they've done 10, so give me 8 and 9. Like, where are those? I think 9 would do better than 8 in terms of sales, but I would like to see 8 more, and it's just because I'm biased. I did also love Final Fantasy 9. I think it would be a great collab, especially if they gave it the kind of Dragon Quest treatment, right? Stick with the art style. Like, allow the Final Fantasy 9 characters to look like they did in Final Fantasy 9, and I have full faith in the art team, over at War of the Visions. Those guys kill it with everything. So that's what I think about that. Now, Friday Night Fights. I want to talk about this one directly. I think there's going to be some people who watch this video just to hear this part, like 4 or 5 of you, but here, this is for you. So right now with Friday Night Fights, I don't have somebody to watch my kid on Friday nights. Like maybe 1 week a month do I have somebody who like I can guarantee will be there. The problem with hosting a tournament is I have to commit to it. It's not like these videos, which I can film this video at any part of Sunday that I feel like. In fact, I put Baby J down for a nap about, like 3 hours ago, and he woke up 20 minutes into his nap. I was organizing my notes, turning on my recording software, had everything on, and then boom, he's sitting up crying, and I have to stop recording, go deal with him for a while, and then eventually, like my wife showed up, she took him over, I'm back down here recording. With content like this, that's fine. I have the flexibility to shift when I'm doing something. With the live streams I do that aren't Friday Night Fights, I can move those forward an hour, back an hour, the next day, the previous day, and I can do that on a whim. And as a father/person with 2 jobs, that's the kind of flexibility I need. Friday Night Fights for a long time, for the first year plus of Baby J's life, was in this sweet spot where I had guaranteed babysitters every Friday until about 7 or 7:30 p.m. We pushed that number a lot. In fact, there's a lot of days where I would like, okay, I'm going to work on the spreadsheet. Oh, actually, hold on, guys, I got to go because, babysitter's going home and they're like texting me. That's stressful. And it really, there's definitely a part of me that is very stressed out by having something on my calendar. Like just having something I have to do at a certain time, all of a sudden it feels like work. When I'm there doing it, I'm having a great time. But my goodness, if I schedule something and other people are relying on it to happen on that schedule, now it's an obligation and now I'm working. And a huge part of content creation, especially something like Friday Night Fights, which I'm going to be honest with you, that is not my most watched stream that I do. And the VODs I post for it on YouTube are some of my lowest viewed videos every week. In fact, most weeks the Friday Night Fights VOD is the lowest viewed video on my channel. So the financial incentive is not there for me. Like, I love everybody who shows up. I feel like I made a cool community and I like want to do it for them. But like, that's it. And if it feels like work, that makes it harder for me. Like it does. And like, also right now, like I'm not gonna just, like, I can't have the kid with me. He is 1.5. He would not sit here for it. So I have to figure that out. I have talked to like the mod team. We've discussed moving it to like Thursdays, but Francesca would need to move her. Like it would really pinch her schedule, which I don't like. And I honestly hate the idea of having a tournament on a weeknight because if it runs late, guys, I go to bed at like 8:30 or 9 o'clock. That's just, I'm not, and I can't go to bed right after a live stream. I know Diggs talked about this a lot. I cannot sleep. If I just streamed, I can't just go lay down and go to bed. So that's going to make my Friday mornings awful because I'm going to be amped up. Tournament just got over. I'll need to go eat, wind it down. It'll be like 11 o'clock before I get to bed. Baby J's up at like 4 or 5 in the morning, and then it's just a rough day. So I don't love scheduling something during the weeks where there's not a time the next day. Like, I don't know. It's a conundrum right now. I don't know what to do. And so I've just been doing nothing. There's where I am. There's where I am with that. So if you were wondering, there it is. I don't know if I have anything more to say. Now, another thing that got brought up that I wanted to talk about, this is not War of the Visions, is teaching. So you guys know Massidia, who also runs a War of the Visions channel, mentioned something about the difference between teaching elementary school and secondary. Because he's a secondary teacher, and he's like, man, yeah, I don't know about teaching this elementary school thing. I was the same way. So I'll just speak on this for a minute. This video's at like 13.5 minutes already, but here we go. So I was worried, because when I knew that basically this, like I'm really proud of myself for being able to support my family running a War of the Visions / a few other games YouTube channel for a year. That was really cool. Like that is something no one can ever take away from me. But once Baby J is born and it like the War of the Visions sponsorship money, mostly from Amazon, dried up. Like, this is one of the big reasons why Diggs moved on to try to do other things. Like, we're just not getting sponsored anymore. So, that was a huge part of our income as full-time content creators. that's gone. And I was like, I have to replace this. And so I was talking to my agent, and he's like, yo, hey, future this, future that. And he's right. Like, there's plenty of prospects for the future, but next month's bills will come due. And I can't just be like, yo, electric company, my agent says that in the future I could just pay you twice this. They're gonna be like, I'm turning your power off. Sucks to suck. And that's that. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? So I was like, okay, if I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, like, for my family to maintain our lifestyle, I have to go get a job. I called the school up, and they're like, hey, we really need a 5th grade teacher. So I was like, hey, you know what? I'll do it. Sign me up. So boom, I slide into 5th grade. Never taught math before, never taught English before, never taught science before, taught social studies before, never taught elementary school. Okay, like, part of our curriculum in elementary school is social emotional learning. Imagine teaching 10 and 11-year-olds social emotional skills. I'm like, get over it, boys. Like, stop crying. That's weird. Why are you? So there I am. And the first month was hard. It was hard because I had to learn how to teach English, learn how to teach math. There's a lot of really good math YouTube videos out there, and I think I'm going to make a math YouTube channel where I just literally take all of these different YouTube videos that are out there and just redo them in a better way. I think that would be a great YouTube channel, and then I could show it to my kids. That's something that could be on the table, like 2023/4. For me, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, I've learned how to do it. And by the end of this year, I've realized a couple things. One, you get to spend so much of the day with these kids, you really, really build that relationship. It reminds me of the type of relationship I had when I was teaching in a super small school. I just really know them, and they know me. And even though I can't share as much with them as I could share with a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, something like that, we still just get to know each other's lives, and it's really awesome. A couple of them show up to live streams. Most of them are like, what's this anime weeb game, LOL, and I'm like, yeah, at least I got a YouTube channel. Sucks to be you stupid 11-year-old. Yeah, but that's our relationship, and it's actually great. I'm going to teach 5th grade again next year. I had the option of moving back up, and I said, hey, I actually kind of dig this, and I'd like to teach the same thing 2 years in a row so I can actually continue to get better at it. At this point, this is my 5th year teaching, and I'm ready to just start refining my skills instead of teaching another new thing. I've now taught 5th grade through 12th grade, so that's a big range of kids, right? And even though I will say there are challenges to teaching 5th graders, there's also challenges to teaching 11th graders and 12th graders. The attitude a senior in high school can give you where they're like, yo, I just need to graduate IDGAF about this content. And you're like, okay, well, you gonna turn something in? And they're like, nope. You're like, all right, is what it is. With kids, with 10 and 11-year-olds, it's not that way. Like, these kids care about themselves, and you can get them to care about education and maybe make, like, learners out of them. Getting little kids to care about school is probably the most important job that an elementary teacher has. And there's so much BS out there. Like, one thing that is super true is, boy, do admin have their fingers in elementary education. Like, as a high school teacher, at least in the schools I worked at, or even middle school, most of the admin were like, hey, you're the expert, you teach this thing, you just have to make sure you do these. Elementary is not like that. They're like, here, this year you're going to teach this cursive, and you're going to teach this phonics thing, and I'm like, God, I'm not, and I get in trouble with the admin for that. Honestly, like, just had a talk with my principal the other day, and he's like, where are you in this piece of thing I gave you? And I'm like, not doing it. And he's like, well, you got to. Okay. I guess I will then. But that's neither here nor there. Their challenges are different. So Mysidia, this whole last like 5-minute segment of the video is for you, I guess. But it's worth it because I feel like the impact I'm having on those kids' life is greater than I was having on 16 and 17-year-olds. And that makes you feel good. It's really a team environment as opposed to secondary. A lot of times you feel like you're on an island. I definitely have a 5th grade team, and that's really cool, and I'm enjoying it. I'm going to do it again next year. So guys, we're pushing 20 minutes of this video. I think we're at 19 right now. I'm going to go ahead and just wrap it up. If you want me to go into more detail about any of that stuff, let me know for next week's video. If not, I will find a few more things to talk about next weekend. I'm enjoying doing this. It's pretty cathartic to be able to sit here and be like, hey, this is how I feel about stuff that's not game related. So, thanks for caring. Thanks for caring. Not being a Karen, but Karen. See, this is why teaching English is hard, because you're like, here's a phonics rule, and then I immediately follow that up with, here's 12 words that break this rule, and we don't know why. It just is what it is, guys. And they're like, this doesn't make sense. I'm like, now you're learning. That's exactly right. The English language is stupid, and all these rules are pointless. So, anyway, have a great day, everybody. I'll catch you next time. Peace.